What's up guys, Buadeo is here. Today I want to teach you how you can make 2D spaceship movement in Unity very easily and very fast. And if you want me to make full game tutorial about 2D spaceship game, just leave the comments down below and I will do it. And if you like my content and want to see more videos like this, please like this one and subscribe to my channel. Now let's get started, and as usual I will make everything as simple as possible. First thing that we need to do is to have some kind of spaceship into our scene, and I prepared this spaceship asset. You can use any spaceship asset you want, it just doesn't really matter. I will use this one because it looks funny, and let's drag it into our scene, and it looks quite big, so I will change scaling on the X to be 0.3 and for the Y to 0.3. Z we don't care because we are in the 2D space. And then what I will do, I will create empty game objects here in the hierarchy. Click with the right mouse button, create empty, and let's name it to be player. And I will drag this spaceship to my player game object so that our spaceship will become child of our player game object. You can add everything that you need in the spaceship itself, but it's just better practice to add everything here in the empty game object. Control your spaceship this way, and in order everything to work, we need to add few components here on the player game object. So in the inspector, let's add components. And first thing that we need to do, we need to have some kind of collider because we will need them. So in the search box, we can search for the box collider 2D. And as you see, it's little bit offset its position, so we can take this offset on the X and move it back, and on the Y as well. And now we can hit on this edit collider and edit our collider however we like. I think it looks fine. And next thing that we gonna add is rigid body, because we need to have some kind of physics, and we should add some kind of forces to our spaceship. So add component, in the search box type rigid body 2D, and I will change this gravity scale from the 1 to 0 because I don't want my spaceship to fall down. I only want to control his up and down movement with the script, and I want him to stay still. Otherwise, I will also freeze rotation here in the constraints on the z-axis to avoid any kind of weird rotational movement that we can have. And now we are ready to go and make our spaceship move with our code. And to do it, we need to create new C# script. So in the assets folder, empty space, hit with the right mouse button, create C# script, and name it anything you want. I already prepared for us empty script. I named it controller. Just make sure to drag this script into your player game object. So let's take our script and drag it here in the player, and let's double check. Indeed, it's here, and let's double click to open Visual Studio. Before we begin working on our code, I want to talk about how we are able to make this script work, because I don't want you to just sit here and copy my lines of code. I want you to actually understand what and why we are doing. So let's discuss what we should do little bit. First of all, if we select our spaceship, and if we change this up and down movement, you see that Y axis is changing. So it means the idea of this game is to control our vertical movement. And Unity already has these inputs for our vertical movement. If we go in the edit project settings, it has this input manager, and if we scroll this axis down, you see that it has information about a lot of things, including horizontal and vertical. Today we don't care about horizontal, we care about vertical. And this vertical axis already has information about our keys, about our buttons, so up and down and WS. So it means that if we set up in script everything correctly, when we use this vertical axis, Unity will automatically know that he should change his movement. He should get information about this vertical movement when we are touching this WS or up and down keys. Amazing. That's the first thing that we need to make. No. Let's go back in script, and also in order to make your game object move with a rigid body, you can use rb.velocity, rigid body dot velocity. And when you say that you should say like this, and it will be equal to something, and this something should be, one thing should be speed, and the other thing should be some kind of direction, for example. And now let's talk about what these directions should be. This direction should have information about your movement based on your vertical axis. So it should be new vector 2, for example. But information about which will have information about your vertical axis. But you also should make some kind of float to store information about your vertical axis. And then you should take this float and pass this float here in the direction, and then you will take this direction and pass him to here in the velocity. And this is how you can make your game object move. This is just basics, and let's delete it and start working on it, and I'll show you how you can do it. Now we need to create some variables. First thing that we need to do is to create a variable for our speed, public float speed. Let's name it just speed, and we will assign some value in the editor when we go back. We also need reference for our rigid body, and let's name it RB. And we also need new vector 2. So vector 2, and let's call it direction. And first thing that we need to do in the start, we should get information about our rigid body in order to use this RB. So we can say RB equals get component, and the component name is rigid body 2D. Don't forget parentheses and semicolon. In the update, first thing, as I mentioned, we should get information about our vertical axis and store that information into variable. It means we need variable. So float, and let's call it vertical. And here we can say just input dot get axis row, and axis we want is vertical. Don't forget semicolon and save. It means that we are storing information here in this variable of vertical. After it, we can say that our direction is equals, as I mentioned, we should create new vector 2, and these vector 2s are taking just two values, x and y. We don't need to change x because we only need to control our spaceship's up and down movement. So for the x, we should say 0. And for the y, so for up and down movement, we will pass information about this vertical axis right here, as I mentioned. So we can say here vertical. And semicolon. Also, we can say here dot, normalize. With a lowercase n to make everything smooth. And after it, as I mentioned, we should say rb.velocity equals, we will pass information about this direction. So direction times speed. And that's it, all you need to write to make your spaceship move up and down. I hope you understand now this script. If not, just leave the comments down below and I will explain it. And if you have any questions, you can do it as well. Let's save the script. So Control S or Command S if you are on Mac, and let's go back in Unity. Let's select our player, scroll down, and you see the speed. Let's make it something like 5. And let's hit play and see if everything actually works. And as you see, nothing is happening, but when I'm touching W and S or up and down, it moves. Amazing. But there is one problem, and we can go outside of our camera basically. on the upside and here on the bottom as well. So let's fix that. To fix it, it's actually very simple. And all you need to do, this collider looks kind of weird right now. Let's change it like so. Okay, to avoid moving outside the camera, you just need to have some kind of collider on the top and on the bottom so that when our spaceship touches them, he can no longer go outside of them. And for it, we can create empty game object with the name of colliders. And in the colliders, let's create another empty game object for the top. And let's place our top game object here. And let's add component, box collider 2D. And let's edit collider and make it like so. I think it looks fine. When our spaceship touches it, it will no longer go outside. Let's duplicate this top and take this down. So we will have two colliders on the top and on the bottom. And when we hit play right now, you will see that we are no longer able to go outside of camera. Let's try. Yes, we are no longer able to go beyond this and beyond this. And that's it. That's everything that you need to have to create your spaceship movement. And as I mentioned, if you want me to make full game tutorial with the spawning obstacles, enemies and camera movement, background and a lot of things, just leave the comments down below and I will happily do it. And if you like my content and want to see more videos like this, please like this one, subscribe to my channel and ring the notification bell not to miss any new upcoming videos. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye bye.